Hello, this is Dirk Jong from Boris FX, and I'm looking at the Avid forum and seeing someone asking for better transitions in Media Composer 6 and wondering if Avid FX can provide something like that. And so I decided to take a couple minutes to take a look at Avid FX as a transition. So here we are in Media Composer 6, and in the effect palette I'm grabbing the Avid FX transition icon and dragging it and dropping it right on the cut point there. So it's now applied as a single track transition. This shot, will be our V1 in Avid FX, the outgoing shot, and this shot will be the V2, that's the incoming shot in Avid FX. So I'll go into effect mode, launch the user interface. And so again, here's this V1 and underneath is the V2. By default, it's not doing a transition, but you could quickly, design one here or build one. But what I'm going to show is through the library browser, I'm going to show some of the presets that come with Avid FX. So I've clicked on this panel here. You can see it outlined in yellow. And I'm going under the window menu and choose library browser because I wanted to put the library browser tab right here. You can leave this open and switch back to the controls window, go back to library browser whenever you want. By default, it looks like this. You need to twirl open Avid FX 6 keyframe library. And if I scroll down, I'm going to open up transitions. And so if I go here, I can preview there's a glow. There's the glow more horizontal. And there's a version of it more vertical. And here's some light rays, transitions, spiral blur. There's one with a lens flare put on top. I'm going to go to the swish pan category of transitions, and you see that there's no images on these thumbnails. It ships this way just to save, to create a smaller file size for the download. To generate these thumbnails, basically just use this button. You see the tooltip says Generate Thumbnails, and I'm going to click on that. Now, if I started at the top level of the library, it would just go through and do the whole thing, but I'm just going to do this category for now. It would take a few minutes to do the whole keyframe library. So now if I select this thumbnail and I hit this little play button, you see it'll play the selected thumbnail. I believe it's a 10-frame preview it gives you there. And if I don't have any of the thumbnails selected, it'll preview all of them. So it's useful to give you a general idea of what might be there in the effect. In this case, I'm going to select this swish pan effect. Now over here, it's always going to preview what the current video is. Over here, it's going to show you whatever the current video was when you generated the thumbnails. So keep that in mind as well. So if I double click here, no, I don't need to save what's already in the timeline here. So there's my swish pan. Switch back to the controls tab. I could obviously modify this as much as I want. Make more blur, less blur for my swish pan, maybe a little more. And I'll go ahead and apply back to Avid. So there it is. Now one effect, one sort of trick had occurred to me to show here, and some people who have used Media Composer for a long time may have already seen this, but you see this button here that says Quick Transition, and if I click on that, and I go under here, you see in this menu it shows a handful of transitions, of the Avid transitions available here. And what I'm going to do, though, if I create a new bin, and I name that bin Quick needs to be spelled exactly, transitions, needs to be spelled exactly correctly there for this to work. And I go here, and I'm going to drag, if I click right here on this little plug-in icon, and drag it here, and I'll call this Swish Pan 01. Now, if I delete this effect, let's say, I go here and click this button, or a lot of people have it mapped to a key. You see Swish Pan 01 is available. So the Avid software actually looks for a bin, with this name, and it will add those effects to that menu in the quick transition feature. So that's really handy. A lot of people, jump between edit points and quickly add transitions using that. Now, the original post on the Avid forum was requesting a sort of transition that was described as the iMovie cross zoom. I'm not familiar with that. Don't have quick access to iMovie right now. So I did a Google search and I came up with someone pointing it out in a YouTube video as something they wanted to do. So this is my attempt at creating the iMovie cross zoom. And what I've done here, and I'll provide this effect, this is a radial blur effect. This represents the blur amount. This point here is the X coordinate for the center of that radial blur. And you can see as I scrub it, it's animating right to left in this case. And, this center keyframe, if I made it less blur, it's going to be a slightly more subtle zoom, or you can give it a bunch more blur if we wanted that. And as far as the direction, you see the center X is set to animate here. So if I wanted it left to right instead of right to left, I would simply do that. And now left to right. Another thing I've done in this preset, what we have underneath here, if I disable the blur, is it's basically the incoming shot fading in over the outgoing shot. And if you select this V2, which is the incoming shot, it should default to showing you the composite tab, and it's set to normal. But if I set it to, say, screen, you see it's going to be brighten it up during the cross fade there. Or I could even set it to add for an even brighter transition. So I think I'll leave it that way for now with these shots. That looks pretty good. And I'll apply back to Media Composer. And I'll take this effect, drop it here, and name it, what was that called? Cross zoom, and we'll say add. So now if I go here, this is where I had my swish pan. I could just simply pop up the quick transition and replace it with a cross zoom, just like that. So anyway, that is a quick look at Avid FX as a transition in Media Composer 6.